So, has digital networking destroyed small talk? Has the way we communicate changed the way you communicate with your neighbor? I met with a web developer earlier, and he said, Jason, he said, people have always been extremely narcissistic. He said, social media doesn't change that. He said, social media just magnifies it. And I accepted his answer. We've always been extremely narcissistic. But how narcissistic? Social media is a great thing, but we need to, it's good to have introspection. It's good to step back. But anyway, I met with a web developer earlier, and we were talking about this. We were discussing this at the gazebo in Knoxville. At the well, it's a major park, and I was telling him this. I was like, I'm an entrepreneur. I want to talk about how we communicate is changing society, and I want to let people know about it just so they have the knowledge. I don't want to bring people away. I don't want to push people away, but I just want people to have some knowledge so they realize what's going on. And he said another thing that was interesting. He said, well, when they developed the phone, what would you do? You would pick up the phone. You were usually with your family. You would pick up the phone and you would talk to somebody. Then they would talk to you. But what was different back then was nobody was pulling the strings. So there was no third party that was manipulating you. It was just you and that person. And so that's what's different now. And I was discussing this with him, and I told him, the open software movement, the internet, has made things worse as far as income inequality goes. And I could tell he didn't like that. But I think it's true. So, has digital networking destroyed small talk? Well, the short answer is yes. Now, obviously, not completely, but if you look at gym culture and social media, that area has changed a lot. I go to a gym near my house a lot, and there's 25 TVs on the wall. There's technology all around us, and so yes, technology has changed the way we communicate. Whereas before, if you wanted to meet somebody, you were forced to actually think of something smooth, and then the man would have to walk up and be chivalrous, right, in order to get the woman, right? This was old society. So, if a man wanted a woman, he had to think of something clever, and he had to have the balls to walk up to her, and he had to have the balls to get her attention, and he had to have the balls to sweep her off her feet, right? That is chivalry. Okay, that's what I mean by chivalry, guys. That is what chivalry is. It's a certain type of politeness, right? It's a certain type of etiquette. And, that's what's changed in society. Chivalry has changed a lot. You no longer have to walk up to a woman to get her in bed. In fact, if you probably walked up to a woman, you would probably get punched in the face. If you thought something clever, she most likely would have her phone and she probably would reject you. You no longer have to be chivalrous to sweep a woman off her feet, and vice versa, right? So women and men. I'm telling you, it has changed the way we communicate. Now, my viewpoint on this is it's not over. So I try to stay optimistic. But we have to come to the realization that we don't have to listen to the media. We can make up our own mind. We can think of something different. The media is not going to help us. And when I say media, I mean the absolute trashing of men. Okay. Sally Field came out, wrote a book about Burt Reynolds after he died. He published a book in which she basically trashed her former lover. And she did so for $1, basically. Now, she has also said some other things about something that happened to her when she was young. I'm not sure about that. I didn't read about any of that, so I can't speak on that. But as far as her and Burt Reynolds, she basically trashed the guy, and she basically just ran his name through the mud. God, I if I ever get married, I would hope that even if my wife divorced me, that when I die, she didn't rip me through the mud. I mean, have some self-respect. Okay, so maybe Burt Reynolds wasn't that great, but the guy's dead. Like, he fucking died. Like, why trash him now? You wait till he dies to trash him. And see, that's what I'm talking about. The media lifted Sally Field up like she was some kind of saint, like she was some kind of princess that we were supposed to get down on our knees and worship, from the floor to we're supposed to get down and worship Sally Field and take her word for it. She basically trashed the guy. I mean, Burt Reynolds and Sally Field dated. I forget how long. I wish I had the information in front of me. I can look it up. Um, but she basically trashed the guy. She did it. She waited. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so she's doing the classic thing that the media portrays. She's playing the victim, right? Victim, victim, victim. Instead of just standing up and looking forward, right? I don't respect anybody, who blames other people. You know, I've had a pretty hard life. Now I haven't had the easiest life, but I haven't had the hardest life either. But I'm not going to sit here and blame this person and blame that and woes me, this is my problem or this is this person's problem and boo hoo, boo hoo. I don't do that. Okay. Like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to play the victim card. It's pathetic. But this is what I'm talking about with culture these days. Sally Field basically has some kind of, I don't know, memoir or something that she's trying to um, push. She's trying to make some money on it. And she basically waited till Burt Reynolds died. Now, if you don't know, Sally Field and Burt Reynolds co-starred on Smokey and the Bandit, like in the 70s or 80s. Um, so they were co-stars together, and I think they ended up getting married or something like that, or at least they had a fling. But she waits till he dies. Burt Reynolds died a couple weeks ago. She waits till she dies, and then she comes out and just trashes the guy, And I'm thinking, where is the self-respect at? Like, the guy fucking died. And so the media props her up. I think this was on Inside Edition or something last night or something, and I'm sitting there watching it. Or no, it was with Lester Holt, NBC with Lester Holt, the nightly news, and basically just putting her up on a pedestal and talking about how Burt Reynolds was a pig, Burt Reynolds was a womanizer, Burt Reynolds was a fucking alcoholic, Burt Reynolds was a drug addict, Burt Reynolds was a pill popper, Burt Reynolds was this, Burt Reynolds was that. And I'm thinking, the guy just died 2 weeks ago. Okay. So let me get this straight. And this is what I'm talking about with culture. Sally Field comes out and waits till he dies and then completely just trashes the fucking guy. Just completely trashes the guy. And the media goes right along with it. And she plays the victim card. She had all this terrible stuff happen. This person did that. Burt Reynolds. Well, of course Burt Reynolds was a fucking alcoholic. He's Burt Reynolds. He's Burt Reynolds. I mean, what else do you expect? He's fucking Burt Reynolds. Yeah, he was a womanizer. Big fucking deal. So, I mean, this is what I'm talking about. It's just chivalry is dead now. There is it's no holds bar now. I mean, they'll trash you, the victim card, the poor princess. I mean, it's just a bizarre culture we live in nowadays, man. I mean, where back in the day it would not have been proper to trash a dead man. Okay, unless he was like Adolf Hitler or something. But it wouldn't have been right to trash a person right after they died. 3 weeks after he died. And so this woman, Sally Field, who hasn't been in a movie in I don't know how long, and personally, I think she sucked. I mean, she always had like this real sad, delusional look on her face, in all the movies she did. And so, I never thought she was any good. But this whole thing, she goes and trashes Burt Reynolds right after his death. And I'm thinking, he's fucking Burt Reynolds. He's Burt Reynolds. Like, what do you expect? So, I don't know, man. Like, chivalry is dead. That's why I say, it used to be improper to trash a dead man. It used to be improper to do certain things. There used to be etiquette. If you wanted the girl, you used to have to walk up and think of something clever. You used to have to be smooth, right? Walk up and ask the girl out, right? Sweep her off her feet. That's what I mean by chivalry. That's what chivalry is. It's a certain type of etiquette. It's a certain type of tradition. It's a certain type of proper action. These don't exist anymore. So why? Why is that? Well, is it because we're shifting as a culture? Is it because we're shifting as a society to um to go against the norm? And this is when I wrote my article about the fall of Rome. This is what happened when Rome fell. There was this rejection of society. There was this rejection of tradition. Up was down, down was up, black was white, white was black, right? So that and if you believe in patterns, because the history always repeats itself. If you believe in that, then you can see it shifting in our society. I mean, now, granted, the media has always been really liberal and stuff, and, they got their own agenda. But to trash Burt Reynolds after he died by Sally Field, who hasn't been relevant in years, and then to sit there and act like she wants to play the victim card and stuff, like, that's where we're at as a society, man. Like, people just put, play the victim card. And it's accepted as normal. The days of taking responsibility and saying, yeah, I fucked up, and I'm not going to blame others, and I'm not going to play the victim card. I'm not going to, you know, uh, whine and cry like a crybaby. I'm going to stand up and say, you know what? I take responsibility. I take responsibility for my actions. Those days are dead. And instead, what we have now is a self-serving, narcissistic, wannabe society that completely cares about what their own self-interests are, and it's having a devastating effect. It's having a devastating effect on men in general. Like, I'm telling you, it really is. It's just having an effect on society as a whole, man. And it's almost like they want to demonize men. You know, it's like I feel bad for guys, man. I do. I especially, you know what? I feel bad for um guys who have taken the blue pill who are blue pilled and they can't get laid. And they get rejected. And they think it's something wrong with them when it's not them, it's society. You understand what I'm saying? I don't know if women would understand, but there's a few guys that might understand. This is the culture that we've created, man, and it's bizarre. It's bizarre. It's really bizarre. So, I mean, what can we do about it? How can we help people? That is the point of my podcast, guys. And if I can get some people that want to have a podcast, that would like to have a podcast in Skype, that would be awesome. But do I think that'll happen? I don't know. You guys let me know what you want to do. I can have you on my podcast and I can help you guys. And we can discuss philosophy. We can discuss culture. Because I'm telling you, our society is in desperate need for philosophy, in desperate need for a figure to come and say, look, we're tired of the way this country has completely disintegrated because of corporate rule and unchecked power in the private sector. Now, I am all for capitalism, but what I'm not for is crony corporate capitalism. That is what I'm not for. So, we need to do something different. I mean, we need at least, people need to come together, man, because if the end is tomorrow, or if a natural disaster like the hurricane wipes out your house, there's going to be people suffering. And I think that's what it's going to take to really open up society, to open up these people's brains and say, look, especially those in government, the senators and the congressmen who have sold the middle class down the road for this global diversity crap, they are the ones who are responsible for destroying the middle class. Because what happened after that was the corporations went overseas and it destroyed the jobs and destroyed wages in America. And it made it to where it was so hard to get a job. You know, it wasn't like that in the 80s, in the 90s. And so Congress sold the middle class down the river when they opened. And that's why there is this globalization. And they say diversity and equality, right? Sure, I'm for that. Like I'm not racist at all. Like I'm just as cool. I'll smoke a blunt with a black dude. I'll smoke a blunt with a Chinese dude. I'll smoke a blunt with a fucking with Gandhi or something if I had a chance, right? But that's not really what equality means, man. What they mean by this diversity and equality shit is if your job gets taken, then or what we want with diversity is we want to go overseas and we want to open up a manufacturing plant overseas. That's what we mean by diversity. So if there's no more jobs or the jobs are getting scarce, well, Sorry, but you know, that's what globalization is doing. It's cruel, man. When there was a GM plant in Indiana, and when Clinton signed in NAFTA, the GM plant moved to Mexico and started hiring employees for $3 an hour, and basically the town became impoverished. And I think they made a movie about it. I think it's with The Rock. I think it's that movie with The Rock. Well, they opened up a casino, after the plant shut down. And it was actually a GM plant, but in the movie they said it was like a mill or something, but it was actually a GM plant. Um it is a true story. It was a GM plant. It wasn't a mill. They didn't want to use GM's name or whatever in the movie. But what happened was, and this is a true story, it destroyed the town. Like drugs and gambling, people lost all their money and shit, and it hurt families basically. And so this has been going on now. you know it's a corporate, and so I'm not really a capitalist. I don't believe, and that's why I'm not a right winger. And a lot of people think I'm a right winger. I'm not, because I don't believe in corporate capitalism. And the right wing believes in capitalism. I don't believe that, because I think if you lower taxes on corporations, yeah, and see, Rhoda, what I was talking about was chivalry. Do you know what chivalry is? Um, it used to be that if you wanted a girl, and this was back in, like, throughout time, as of recently, if you wanted a girl, you had to think of something clever. You had to, you know, you had to have the balls to walk up to her and actually, you know, say something clever and stuff. Yeah, you actually had to walk up to a woman. That's dead now, man. Like, you don't even have to think of nothing clever, man. You just go on these dating sites, and if you look good, man, I mean, that's what I mean. That's what chivalry is. It's like chivalry is um almost like etiquette. Chivalry is almost like tradition. You don't even have to do that anymore, man. You don't even have to think of something clever. You just got to have a good picture on Tinder, and these women just, you know, throw. But see, man, and I feel bad for the good guys, man. The actual good guys who actually want a good woman, man. Like, I feel bad for them, because this whole hookup culture, and this whole, like, oh, well, you can just meet somebody and then fuck them, and okay, well, yeah, that's fine, but it's man, and it really hurts guys, man, who are hardworking and shit, and it really makes them depressed, and that's why I'm saying, man, this country, it's headed down a dark road, man. Like, you know, and it's really bad now, man. Especially where I live. It's like, you know, um, nobody's having kids now. Like, women are deciding not to have kids. A lot of the girls that I talk to, they're college students and they're good looking women, man. And they're like, no, I'm not gonna have kids. I'm like, why? And they're like, well, because I want a career. And I'm thinking, why? Like, why wouldn't you want kids? That's a really fulfilling thing. Yeah, man, and it fucks relationships up too. It really does, man. I mean, this one girl I dated, man, you know, she cheated on me like so many times, man. And I never cheated on her or nothing. And she would just lie and say, no, no, no. She was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then she'd be like, no, you're not seeing my phone and stuff. And then I'd go through her phone and she'd get so mad, dude. And there was like all these notifications and stuff on Facebook. And all these guys were talking to her. I'm thinking, this girl's just a straight up sociopath. And that's where I'm at today, man. It's almost like I don't even want to get involved in a relationship anymore. It's just not worth it, man. These girls are narcissists. These girls are completely self-absorbed. Now I'm not talking about every girl, but a lot of the women that I come across, who are college students and stuff like that, man, they're completely just narcissistic, self-absorbed. um I'll go on some of these, which I don't, I haven't used dating sites in years, but um this girl showed me a couple profiles, and they were just like, I'm the shit, I'm the shit and all this and that, and I'm like thinking, man, the times have changed so bad, man. It's like just within the past 20 years, because when I was in high school, and this, Rhoda, when I was in high school, things were still, if you wanted a girl, you still actually had to have some game and stuff. That's dead now, man. With dating sites and Tinder and shit, you can just, as long as you look good, you could just meet a girl and then, you know, um, whatever, just throw in the same night, go home and fuck, and then I don't know, man. It's just shit's different now, even than it was when I was in high school. But so I guess there's still some good girls out there, but man, they're far and few between nowadays, man. But man, I'm gonna get off here. If you guys, if anybody watching this, and you guys want to join in, just you know um leave some comments, and we can discuss topics, because I got free time for the next month or so before I go back to work. So, but peace and love.